Welcome to Business Over Brew. Nick Dar back with you here, stepping back into the host chair after a little sabbatical, I guess you would call it. And pleased to be joined today by Blake Middleton and Chris Hostettler with Elite Roofing. Guys, thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yes, sir.
Blake, let's start with you. How did the business get started? Just kind of tell us the story of how you went from where'd you grow up? Just tell us your story a little bit of Elite Roofing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in the Vanilla Gillespie area, so Macoupin County. I currently reside in Litchfield, which is where the home base office is. But back in 2016, when I graduated high school, had big plans to join the Marine Corps, and was supposed to leave in September. Ended up getting in a car accident. Long story short, couldn't join the Marine Corps at that time, so I ended up coaching some baseball.
Okay.
And was trying to look for a job because my whole high school plans ended up getting changed. So at that point, I went to my old baseball coach, started getting a team together, and we played in the fall. Met a roofing guy out of the local area down south a little bit, in the Caseyville area. Ended up asking him for a job tearing off roofs, and he kind of laughed at me and said he liked the personality and said, "Hey, why don't you come sell for me?" So over the course of the winter and the early spring, I ended up with him, teaching everything, details, all that stuff. So we ended up hitting the storm 2017. It was February 28th, March 1st. I'll never forget it. And kind of ran with it there. He showed me everything, learned a little bit about the industry. Went to Rankin in the meantime for electricity. Didn't really expect roofing to kind of be my saving grace. I was just kind of passing time because the Marine Corps basically said I had 1 year before I could rejoin. So
okay,
I wanted to get through that. It was always my lifetime goal and passion there. So I ended up learning roofing that spring and summer. Ended up switching careers to a Missouri company, and then from there kind of just dabbled and ended up leaving again the following September for the Marine Corps. But 2 years later, it found my saving grace when I got back. COVID, hit in 2020, and I was in the reserves at that point after 2 years of active duty. And yeah, I spent a few years with another company and broke away with real estate and kind of went on my own. So it's a lot of stories there. And
sure, right.
I know I'm kind of trembling over myself a little bit.
No, that's good.
It's new, but I think, as far as the starting point and learning and getting to where I'm at has came over quite a bit of time. But the big thing is just, I'm losing myself.
That's all right. So talk about you got out of the Marine Corps and then back to the roofing business, or was that when you went into?
Yeah, so I learned basically. I was in the Marine. Or I learned the roofing business for a solid year. I was basically like a QCer, which is quality control for a company. Showing up, making sure the crew does the installs right, learning the processes, learning the warranties of the product, and then from there, when I joined the Marine Corps, I came back. I was over the age of 21, so they finally let me start selling. We had two major storms in 2017 and 2021 that really allowed me to take off as an individual there, learning the entire industry. And then I took a jump basically in life in, I guess, 2022, right before the company started. And it was joining real estate. Decided that, I could sell roofs forever if I wanted to in my mind. But if I was going to have a long-term financial backing plan, it was going to be some sort of retirement. And I chose real estate. So I jumped in, tried to learn it, ended up, taking a loss financially and losing myself there for a minute. It cost me a lot of time and almost cost me my entire family. But I was able to, at that point, once I realized that I didn't have a way to go, I was like, you know what, let's start this roofing company and construction company.
Sure.
So we put a lead on it as a name. I didn't want to do my last name per se on it. Not really too well known in the industry or in the local community.
Right.
So at that point I ended up, I was like, you know what, Elite sounds good. It kind of started with baseball. They got divisions of.
There's always an elite team. Yes.
Yeah, there's always an elite team, and then it kind of bounces up. So we started Elite Roofing, and it took off in January of 22. And then at that point, it's just kind of domino affected. We've been fortunate with a lot of growth and went from just me doing kind of everything as a whole to having an entire team.
Chris, when did you come on board, and how did that take place?
So I came March 2025. And our background is he coached my son and we've known each other over the years. So it's probably about 7-8 years, I think.
Yeah.
So same thing, falling out. I worked for a smaller company that was really good, got bought out by a larger one.
Mm-hmm.
Things changed, didn't quite work
As
out.
they do when a larger company comes in, usually, right?
With the relationship status we had, I reached out to him, not even looking for any kind of employment. It just kind of fell into place. And he's like, "Have you ever thought about doing this?" And I was like, "Well, no." And we talked about it, gave it a shot. Same thing you're talking about, the storms coming through. I was only there a week or two, storms come through, and, feet to the fire, you go out and learn.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest thing is, and one of the reasons I did it is because knowing him and how his relationships are with people and how he can keep reinventing himself. It's nothing but positive. He really shares with the communities too. And I think that's where all this outreach comes from. I think that's why the success is there.
You mentioned like in a video that I watched that you kind of wanted to change the perception a little bit of the reputation in the roofing industry and be a little bit different. What are some things you've done to do that?
So I think, a lot of people know a lot of different roofing companies. I'd say our biggest, separator is essentially the staff, the team culture.
Mm-hmm.
I think being actually the youngest person at the company and being the guy that kind of runs the show on the day, on everything.
Right.
It's made a difference to bring in people that have the knowledge, have the experience, and have the ability to learn. Chris is a prime example. When he came on board, construction wasn't necessarily his background, but just how he treats people, how he handles himself, and just people naturally kind of flaunt to him. It's somebody you want to have on your team. So as far as like changing the industry, there's a couple different points that I think we tried to really excel at this year, which is going to be essentially, like I said, staff, but just making sure that the communication and the knowledge points are there. I think a lot of people, especially when it comes to the insurance world, we pay insurance on our houses every month.
Right.
But when it comes to the fact of like getting paid by the insurance companies, not everybody usually makes a claim. There's people I've dealt with 60, 70, 80 years old that have never made a homeowner's claim. So being able to take, grandma, grandpa, and also that 21-year-old new homeowner and explain to them like, hey, you just got a $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 check. Here's what the process is. Here's how it looks. And sometimes the insurance companies aren't always beneficial as far as being on your side. So we do actually have a public adjuster on staff to help fight the claims. I think this year he's done close to about $750,000 worth of supplements. And for that, being able to take somebody, who has damage that it's not getting paid for and turning that into something really goes a long way. And that usually ends up being your best referrals. And on the flip side of that, like when people get denied and they don't fight it, knowing that they have damage, knowing that their neighbors are getting roofs and different things, what will happen is after a year, the fiberglass on the shingles start showing. It's kind of a big common thing. And then if there is another storm, they say, oh, that's old damage. So you kind of fight that battle back and forth of, going through and saying, hey, like, I know you're denied. I know you trust your insurance company. I know you pay it. But I think the biggest misconception with local people, and I wish there was a better way to handle it sometimes, is your agent can be awesome. And that's typically why you choose your,
right.
Outside of price, a lot of people know people in the insurance industry, and the agents are awesome. Most of them do a really good job, but they really don't have any decision-making when it comes to paying for damage. They can assist you in certain parts of it, but they don't, at the end of the day, it's out of their hands. So I think, the public adjuster is our biggest key piece that's going to separate us outside of the culture that we bring and just constant communication. We got a really awesome office staff. Jenny, I always call her the heartbeat of the company. She keeps every single person that works at Elite Roofing kind of in line, including myself. A lot.
We all need somebody.
We all need somebody, that's for sure. So I just, I could focus an hour on each individual employee that we have. I mean, we're a team of, roughly 12, 13 people, few office staff, and everybody has their role, and everybody does a really good job of kind of coming together. And I think the biggest compliment I've gotten came about a month ago. And it was like, you're 10 years at minimum, usually about 20 years younger than everybody that works for you. And everybody still has that, like when we come to a meeting and everybody's respectful, everybody takes, pretty much what we're saying and preaches to the same common goal. Everybody's more team elite than team themselves. And that just goes a long way, I think.
Nick Dar here with Big Z Media. Hope you enjoy the episodes of Business Over Brew, and pleased to have the Riverbend Growth Association as the sponsor of this program. Our missions are kind of the same, really. We're attempting to educate people about business, foster business in the Riverbend community, The Big Z has been a member of the Growth Association forever, probably back to our inception as a company almost. We have always been members of the Growth Association, have gotten a lot of benefits from it. There's so many networking opportunities you can take advantage of. I've met so many great people just because I've been a member of the Growth Association and taken advantage of all the events that they have, plus just some of the resources they provide you, the relationships you build. Just lots of great reasons to join the Growth Association. They do a lot of great things in the community as well. They highlight a different nonprofit every month. So really, they're just invested in the community here, and especially the small business community, which is what Business Over Brew is really all about, which is helping the small business community, because it's so important to any community to have a thriving business community. And the Growth Association has really helped with that. If you want more information about joining or events that might be coming up, they have events all the time that you should definitely take advantage of. I'm going to give you the website to go to. Just head to growthassociation.com. You can get a membership directory. You can see who's taking advantage of it. You can see about the events that are there, learn more about possibly becoming a member. Or if you already are a member, you can find out what's going on with the Growth Association at growthassociation.com. So just again, big thank you to the Riverbend Growth Association for sponsoring Business Over Brew. Seems like you've been pretty strategic about a couple things. One, building your staff, and that's something that, a lot of guests that we've had on this show are, it's been one of the bigger struggles, I think, for business owners, especially since COVID. Talk about how you go about, finding and retaining quality team members.
Absolutely. So I think the biggest thing is you pay them more than anybody else in the industry. So
that always helps.
It does. And, I take that as essentially like pride on myself and like the ability to do so. Like most of the guys that work for me actually make more than me. I salary myself, like I said, like team elite, company first. Like you almost got to experience it to believe it. We do give a lot back to the community, which I think in return is, some of the best marketing, but it's also everybody there is giving first. So whether it's giving to me or giving to the community, like we're all around. Most of the people that, like if I go through the list, like Jenny being the heartbeat, she came on part-time at the end of last year, just helping with collections, and then slowly transferred into the role of actually just taking over the entire office. And now she's an office manager. She's one of the more organized people we have. But, Chris, like I coached his kid. I actually coached with him in college, baseball at Robert Morris University in Springfield for a year. So that was a bond. Adam, who's one of our lead sales guys, he was my high school coach. That was an insurance agent for 13 years and just decided to have a career change. And I happened to be buying a $50 fridge for him because I own a couple rentals, and like, hey, come sell roofs. And he's like, why not?
Sure.
So that happened there. And then,
hiring people that and have a relationship with is really that's the best place you can find people.
For
right?
Sure. Like, and I agree. And that's why I said, like, I'm blessed with that culture. Cause like, a lot of times, sometimes, friends and family, they say kind of screw you over first on business. But like, there was a more than an acquaintanceship, more of a friendship.
Sure.
But just the mutual line of respect of good people in the community. And I think, like Chris has been around, he's done multiple things from coaching baseball, coaching college, helping high schoolers get recruited to different colleges. He was at Lewis and Clark, which I know is local for a couple years, I think. He's been to Illinois College. Like, so there's,
right, alma mater.
There you go. So I think, that kind of culture, like Adam being an insurance agent for 13 years, I mean, in Gillespie, which is our local, right next to our local town, really goes a long way. And then Corey, who's probably my favorite employee story, was fired on Easter by a landscaping company, didn't have anything to know about roofing. There's the rakes, which are kind of going from the gutter line to the ridge. I said, hey, go check that rake. He thought he was looking for a rake in the backyard.
Like a landscaping rake.
So he absorbed everything. He was a 4-week hire that turned into probably a lifer. But it's just, again, it's like I've been lucky. I don't know the reason why. I think, truthfully, like if I had to take a guess at it, it's the fact that I bring a little bit of a younger energy. And I don't really have that, like I've been through the ringer and have all these experience and I'm going to tell you what to do. I absolutely hate micromanaging. Like my employees, like the office employees, like there's no hours, there's no clock in, it's either you do your job or you don't. Right. And everybody, there's been a couple that have came and went, especially this year, just really only 2 that they were there 2 weeks and they're like, yeah, this isn't for me. Because you either come into the culture and you accept it. And honestly, you say like, hey, I bleed elite basically, or you decide, hey, like this isn't for me.
Chris,
Yeah.
talk about that from your perspective as somebody who's with, I think, a little over 6 months probably you've been
Yeah.
there. What's that? How's that looked from your standpoint?
So it's only actually it's been a short 6 months, but it feels like a lifetime.
I
The
agree.
information and the people that you're working with, and to go back on Corey a little bit, if it wasn't, not that we didn't have a good relationship, but being trained by Corey and what he's gone through to get to where he's at, and buying into this whole program, you get nothing but success out of it. And hats off to him for taking the time to do that with me. But his story is fantastic. If there's anybody that anybody ever wanted to learn from, it would be that guy, and that's for sure. And I know he's probably a little bit closer to your age than mine, but I mean he is he's sunshine on a rainy day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm 27. He's 38. So
Gosh, you young people.
I know.
Golly.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about you mentioned the public adjuster and the insurance piece of things. It feels like there's been a little bit of change in that area, maybe over the last 10, 15 years even.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I think from his experience on the day-to-day operation, so I'll background that and then tie into that. Last year or 2 years ago, it was all me. So I did everything from selling the job, production, ordering the material, ordering everything, scheduling the crews. And then last year, I had a partner come on board that helped me, kind of did more retail, pull bar and stuff like that. And I was able, we got hit with a major storm in the Edwardsville area. So I was able to bring on Corey at that time. And then he took all my sales stuff, and I was basically starting the back end. So I think, as a business owner, I think the hardest ship for me was doing what you're not good at.
Mhm.
And I think that was the biggest change we made this year was, sales is my background. Sales is what I love to do. Sales is what I can teach. But I basically took Corey, molded him into what I wanted, and said, I'm not training any more sales guys. So he's taken that and just ran with it, which has been awesome and fantastic. So anybody that's been in sales or this year has been trained by Corey, which is awesome because he does it all the right way. He took all my bad habits and erased them. But I think, to tiptoe on that, like bringing in, the public adjuster was the next step. And it's one of those things that I feel like is probably the biggest missing key with roofing companies.
Yeah.
And why I say that is just, it's not a lot, there's a lot of very good roofing companies in the area. And honestly, I think most people have good intentions. It's just the insurance game is changing. It's not when I first started this in 2017 in the roofing world, basically the homeowners got their entire check up front. So if you had $20,000 of the loss, $1,000 deductible, they gave you a check for 19 grand and you carried on. If you got a bid for 12 grand, you made 7 grand. That's just how it was.
Right.
Well, now insurance companies, so many people were taking that money and running, going on vacation, doing whatever, that they actually started withholding so much, like basically, so they take the age of the roof and they depreciate it by so much. So that, $19,000 check, if your roof's 15 years old, now became $10,000. So, and what a lot of people don't know is they recoup that $9,000 typically when they actually get the work completed. But so many people, don't make a homeowner's claim, or their dad or grandma or whoever made the claim, 15 years ago, and they're like, no, that 10 grand's all you get. And the paperwork can be very confusing depending on the insurance company. So even for us, sometimes, like I've looked at hundreds and hundreds of insurance scopes, and I think, I still have to question myself on certain things, like sitting down, typing it out, and making sure everything adds up just so you accurately can communicate with the homeowner. But I think with that, that old $20,000 roof that got paid for, they may only say, hey, you got half the roof paid, half the roof. So you may only get a check for 5 grand. And then bringing in a public adjuster, Jeremy, who's been fantastic, like goes out there, documents it, uses the same software as the insurance company, and is able to get that other side bought. And kind of how I explain it to people, and some people get turned off on it, is you pay insurance every month. If you miss a payment, you get nothing. So why not utilize it and maximize the claim when you get it?
Right.
I don't know exactly all the rules and regulations, but I know Florida is basically like they're only holding ACV policies. So there's 2 types of policies I'll kind of touch on. ACV, which is actual cash value, meaning you get the money of what the roof is worth for the project in the current condition. And then RCV is replacement cost value, which meaning you recoup what the roof from what it's worth now to what it's going to be when it's finished. So with that being said, like eventually we're going to switch, in my opinion, in the next few years to all ACV policies. We've had too many major storms. Insurance companies are losing a lot of money. I think, so if you have the damage now, get the roof,
right.
Get the project completed. a lot of people, especially this time of year, see a big check, for 10, 20 grand, and they hold on to it because times are tough. The economy's crazy and nobody knows what's going to go on in the world. So
Sure.
I get that, but again, not to circumvent too much, but like Jeremy is just that's key to the operation. And I mean, I'd let Chris touch on it a little bit more, but 750 grand worth of roofs, some people may not seem a lot to us. It's 15% of our business.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's right at 15. It's like 730 when I checked it last Thursday of supplements that he's gotten approved. And that's all homeowners that were denied. So,
right.
If you say
there's some stuff that wasn't covered too.
Yeah. Stuff not covered and little things that are left out. I mean, Xactimate, which is the software that's typically used by most insurance companies. The firm for that actually just bought AccuLinks, which is the number one CRM for roofing. So what they're doing is they're taking all the labor prices that are inputted into the templates and everything, and the insurance scopes are actually paying less money than they were a year ago because they just bought it. It was like a month or two ago. They just bought it. I can't remember the name, but we've compared two scopes on the same roof from a year ago now with the exact same line items, and it's actually cheaper. So getting that extra money, paying for that overhead and profit and different things. We had a claim this year go from, 37,000 to 117 or 118.
Wow.
So, homeowners look at that and they're like, oh my goodness, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're stealing from my insurance company. It's like, no, like, I'm really not trying to.
What you paid for, really.
It's what you pay for every month or yearly. And I think that's the biggest kickback, but hardest part of the industry is you have a lot of companies that don't know how to read an insurance scope. So they just give retail bids. And then what happens is when the homeowner's trying to recoup that additional money, they can't because we have to match the insurance scope dollar for dollar.
Mm-hmm.
So that $20,000 roof, if we don't sell it to you at 20,000, we sell it to you at 15. You turn in a $15,000 receipt, they're only going to reimburse you to 15.
Right.
They're not going to reimburse you for the entire 20 grand. So
Sure.
It's just a misconception of based on what it used to be 15 years ago or 10 years ago to where it is now.
What a lot of challenges in this business and really any business, but what have been some of the biggest challenges that you guys have been able to persevere through?
Well, I think I would stick with the insurance on that because like we were talking earlier, a lot of people won't file a claim or they'll file one in a lifetime. So having Jeremy, the public adjuster, and actually working with the homeowners, spending time with them and going through that scope with them so they understand what's being covered for them and why it's being covered, I think is really important. I think that's the biggest challenge because there's a lot of people that have never filed a claim and they may never file one again. So, I mean, that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
I think, for sure. I mean, business wise, I think it's the everyday grind in a sense of just insurance companies usually take 30 to 60 to sometimes 90 days to pay.
Sure.
So, at the end of the day, when you look at your, 12-month span, it looks, it's awesome. We're killing it. We had the best year ever. But when you look at the day-to-day and the week-to-week, like, there's like, for instance, a couple weeks ago, we were in a position where, like I said, we're about a $5.5 million company and we were owed a little over 700,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, or 800,000 actually. So it's one of those things where like the constant cash flow and like keeping that going and that backing and like, you can balance a budget and think this is where you're going to be. We had a storm in our backyard late in May and that really took us off. So, we're actually making the decision. Last year we shut down December 1st. And when I say shut down, finishing out warranties and just making sure that we kind of clean up any of the missed, stuff that may have little things basically. This year we're making the decision to shut down basically November 15th, first, second week in November. Weather's changing. We've actually found a way better response by communicating early with customers saying, hey, like, colder temperatures, shorter days. It's just, suppliers are backed up a little bit because material, I don't want to say material shortage, but materials, running out essentially. They can only make the granules on the shingles in certain temperatures and different things of the product. So it's one of those things, like even if we push you off to the spring, they're okay with that as long as the communication and the follow-up stays there. And I think, as a roofing company, the two biggest things that we can differentiate ourselves on is follow-up and communication. And that's my biggest mission on everything is at the end of the day, we're going to put a good roof on it. You could find 10 other people to put a good roof on it, but I want to be able to communicate with you the entire way to make sure you're A, comfortable, but B, know what's going on. Sometimes it's out of our control, but that's the big thing we try to push. I think overall it's the office. I think Chris gets a little annoyed at me sometimes because we go through every lead every 7 days, but it's just to kind of stay on it. If they tell us no, eventually we'll close it out. But it's that follow up.
Sure.
It's
Right.
Jenny has on her desk chaos coordinator, and that's kind of part of, did you document it and did you follow up?
Well, it's a good place to start wrapping it up before we close it out. Anything that we didn't mention that either of you want to touch on?
No, I think the biggest thing is when you're looking at a company and you're trying to figure out how to choose, and like, I want to, toot my own horn and say, obviously we want you, we want to earn your business, is just making sure A, you're comfortable, and making sure B, that you got to document it in a contract. Verbal contracts and handshakes no longer exist, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, at the end of the day, it comes down to just going with somebody. I always say stay local and stay reputable, but reviews, AI is going to be the future. There's going to be a point where, salesmen don't even have to go to the job anymore and they can get quotes.
Sure.
It's already kind of going in that direction.
Yeah.
But I think from a personal standpoint, we'll utilize some of those advantages, but meet the people, learn who the people are, see who's in your community, see who's giving back. And I think that shows who they are and goes a long way.
That's a good place to stop. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
So I think overall, Chris is probably going to say call his cell phone.
Sure. Yeah.
The office number, 217-851-3836 is definitely the easiest way. Jenny's got that phone 24/7. So she pretty much, the only time she doesn't answer is when she's coaching cheer, but she definitely returns the calls late at night or first thing in the morning. So it's usually from about 7 to 9 o'clock, but you can go on the website, fill out a form. It'll go directly to 4 different people's email, and they'll return the call within 24 hours and get it taken out. I think that's probably the best way, is the form or calling the office number.
Great. Chris, anything to add before we wrap up?
Yeah, just something to put in there too. We offer emergency services, tarps. We do that for folks, especially during storm season.
Sure.
And we're everything exterior. So gutters, gutter guard, siding, soffit, fascia too. So, anybody can get a hold of us for anything.
Well, guys, thanks so much for coming on the show. Best of luck to you in the future, and look forward to a lot of success for you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank
sir.
you. Thanks for having us.
Sure.